this is Candace Stewart. Welcome to my podcast, Trade Secrets. Today, kind of like an OG member of the 6,000 Sunset client list. This is Dave Schiffman. I've known Dave for some time. The studio, as most of you know, if you've ever watched the podcast, has gone through several name changes and several owner changes. It is currently East West Studios. We're sitting in Studio 2 right now. This is particularly poignant because Dave's done a lot of records in this room. Dave,
Yes.
kind of the reason that I started doing this was, I'm going to retire soon. And I don't really have lots of photos. I always tease Paula because she has so many photos.
Right.
And I wanted to just talk to the people that I know and love behind the scenes, the engineers and producers, and artists who have helped make my career and who've helped make music for the whole time that I've been doing this job and been a manager. I kind of wanted to show younger people who might listen, like there's no one way to get here.
Oh, no,
you know what I mean?
not, yeah.
And so I really only ask one question, and it goes from there, which is, where were you born?
I was born in New York City
Oh, okay.
and grew up in New Jersey,
Oh, okay.
so the suburbs.
Right.
of
What
New
did
York.
what did your mom and dad do?
My dad worked on Wall Street.
Cool.
I couldn't really tell you what he did. I think he, like in bonds or something.
Oh, cool.
My mom was more or less just a stay-at-home housewife, but she did do some retail work.
Oh, cool.
Kind of later, like once we were kind of off on our own.
I've known you a long time. Do you have any siblings?
I do. I have an older sister and a younger sister.
Oh, you're in the middle, and you're
I'm
the
in the
only
middle.
boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Explains a lot, right?
Well, yeah, maybe. I won't actually, tell people how old we are, but I will say that one of the other things that I am kind of interested in is, did you have music in school, like in your elementary school?
I did.
You said you grew up in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Did you, were you interested in music at an early age?
Yeah, I was taking piano lessons at a pretty early age, probably like, 8 or 9.
Oh, cool.
And in elementary school, they had a band.
Yep.
And they gave you an instrument, so.
Here's a piano.
Yeah.
Bam.
Yeah, I started with trumpet
Oh, okay.
back then.
You and Flea.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I was horrible. But I stayed with it through high school, but I was always horrible. Like I just never practiced. I didn't really like it, but what I liked about it was with band you got extra credits. So
Yeah.
you could you didn't have to take as many classes.
And there were nerdy girls in band.
There were nerdy girls in band.
Cute girls in
Sure,
band.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I have to say a shout out to all the parents out there who tolerate their children's terrible practice on these instruments that they don't seem to really master.
Yeah.
My brother took violin lessons when we were little. He ended up becoming a really great guitar player, my older brother Rick, but I'm sure that the early violin lessons and your early trumpet lessons were
Cringy for
you
sure.
know what I'm saying?
Oh my God, yeah.
Now, in the band, was there like a marching band aspect to your band?
Yes, and that's what I hated about it.
Okay.
I just absolutely hated
I'm
marching
always curious
band.
how you walk and blow. Like, how do you breathe and walk and play?
That was part of the problem.
Seriously?
Was I don't think I could do all of those.
It seems super hard to me.
I think if I was marching, I wasn't playing.
Right.
I was faking it.
Right, you're just holding it up.
Yeah, and so like what I really liked about it was symphonic band because it was marching band in the fall when
Right.
there was football.
Okay.
And then after that it was symphonic. It was like we were playing
Compositions that the teacher
compositions.
picks
Yeah.
out, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. So now, elementary school and high school, you had same kind of thing, right?
Yeah, that was in high school. Like it was there was some sort of band thing in elementary school, a bit more serious in junior high,
Right.
and then in high school was when marching band. And
Can you stay with it the whole time?
I did.
Wow, that's
I
so
stayed
cool.
with it the whole time.
That's
But
so cool.
I mean, like when I stopped playing trumpet, I was like, thank God. I was just so bad at it, and then I ended up selling my trumpet to. The band They Might Be Giants.
Of course.
I sold my trumpet to John Flansburgh.
Oh, how very cool.
It-
So out there somewhere when They Might Be Giants is performing, it's Dave Schiffman's
It's my trumpet. Yeah.
That's fucking cool. So, but your parents were supportive.
They were, yeah. I mean, they liked that I was doing
Keeping
stuff
busy.
in music, yeah. And I was staying out of trouble, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there wasn't like a big musical background to my family.
Gotcha. Yeah,
So,
not mine either.
yeah.
So you're in high school, you're in New Jersey. When, the music at the time, you're a tiny bit younger than me, but the music at the time, when did you first, like, get the engineering bug or the production bug? When did you first sort of transit from, I'm getting rid of this fucking trumpet, to I would like to, like, did you just go see bands? Did you do live sound or anything like that?
Did not do live sound.
Okay.
Live sound is a whole other animal.
I agree.
I have immense respect for people who
Dude.
do that, because that is just
It's unforgiving, is all I'll say.
unforgiving, and that just does not speak to the control part of me, because
I get that.
you have no control whatsoever.
I get that completely.
So, no, I think it started by me just like reading album covers
Yep.
and just becoming really curious about, well, how does that work?
Did you find I like I said, I'm a little bit older and I have 3 older brothers, so I got exposure to a lot of British invasion and stuff like that. But I found that I would gravitate towards certain records, and then I'd look and I'd realize that it was like the same producer,
All the same players
or the
and
same
producers, yeah.
engineer. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I mean, the Wrecking Crew stuff here in LA. Of course, Mamas and Papas and the Beach Boys and stuff like that,
Right.
and other bands that came out of that time of the mid to late '60s. But then also, I started noticing that Glenn Johns and Andy Johns did every record,
Right.
and then Ron Nevison did every record that I ever loved.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And especially, I love Sticky Fingers by the Rolling Stones.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to meet Andy Johns, which I did eventually get to do and work with, and loved
Yeah.
him. But
he was,
the best, dude.
oh my God.
At 19, recording the Stones.
Yeah.
And he told me that, they were all using a drug that made them mellow. And he was doing a drug that made him
The opposite.
faster. And so he said they would hide behind their amps. And he's 19 years old. And remember how tall
But
he was.
he was ginormous.
Yeah, he's
I mean,
so
like,
tall. And he was like, okay, you have to come out now.
Yeah.
But yeah, you start reading album covers and you start getting like excited. And I mean, I think basically this, I'm prejudiced, I'm sure. I think basically 1959 to well, I don't want to say not now, but I'm going to go 1979 or 89 was a really great period in music. Not
Yeah.
that now isn't a great period.
Yeah.
We're going to keep going with that. But I think that there was like a 20-year period, where you had like Zeppelin and you had The Who, and then you started getting into New Wave and stuff like that. So what, were there clubs around your hometown? Did you go see live bands?
There were no clubs in
Oh
my
man.
hometown.
How far were you from New York?
Not far.
Oh, so
It
you could
was-
take the train?
Yeah, well, like a bus.
Oh, okay.
So it was like a bus ride, or once we started driving.
Were you like
it
in
was-
Orange or
No, I was in Teaneck, New Jersey.
Teaneck? Okay.
So like like just over the George Washington Bridge.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so like we would go into
Going to the city.
New York to see shows, or occasionally like there was the Passaic Theater, and there were occasionally like big shows there. Like I think I remember seeing Peter Gabriel there.
Oh, very cool.
But
I've seen him.
it was mostly New York. Yeah.
Gotcha. Did you, when you got out of high school, did you go to college?
I did.
What
I
did you study in college?
I studied television, radio, film production
Cool.
at Syracuse University.
Well, this is a step in the right direction.
It was a step in the right direction.
We work with Syracuse. You know someone who teaches there probably, Pat McDougall, who used to work. He worked for Skip Saylor for a while, and then he ended up going to work for Paul Allen. And he was Paul Allen's guy. Great engineer.
Yes.
And he's a teacher at Syracuse.
At Syracuse.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so-
Yeah, because when I was there were only 2 sound courses. There were 2 recording courses, and I took them both, and it was with a professor who.
And you had to move to Syracuse, right?
Yeah, I lived in
Yeah.
beautiful Syracuse.
Yeah.
So cold.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, it was this one teacher. He made you buy the book, the book that he wrote, and not the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah, probably a bitter guy.
Just a bit on the grumpy side.
Oh, right.
let's say.
Well, We've encountered our share of those.
Exactly. But the studio at the time was ridiculously cool. I
State
mean,
of the art?
Yeah,
At
like
this point in
they
time?
had like a Neve console in there. They
Wow.
had an Ampex 2-inch machine in
Oh,
there.
wow.
Bunch of really nice mics. Like it was a functioning
A
recording
real studio. Oh, wow.
And for each class, like you had a project, you had to go like find a band, bring them in, and record it.
I love this.
And
By the way, that's the only way you learn how to do this. I'm
Yeah.
just going to say that.
and and then we would be graded on our recording, and and he would sit in and
Did your teacher have some decent credits? I'm curious.
no.
Okay,
No,
interesting how you
I
got
think
into that
I
path.
think he did like TV sound
Oh,
or
okay.
something.
Okay.
But he would say the same thing to everybody. Like, he'd listen and he'd go, you might want to try a plate on that instead of, like he was big on the plate.
That was his rote thing.
Yeah, that was his rote, like dial it in thing.
Well, I'm probably not wrong, but
In the scheme of things, he was probably right.
and was there like discussion of mic placement and things like
Yeah,
that?
I mean the TA who was actually teaching the class was actually, he was good about that,
Nice.
and I definitely picked up stuff from him that I didn't know because I went in there very green.
Anything you use today? Still?
Doubtful, but I you know what? I honestly,
hard
a
to
lot
say.
of it is a blur.
Well, and it's probably ingrained in your DNA at this point.
I think so.
You know what I
think
mean?
So.
So, did you complete the
I
program?
did. I got an A in both of those classes. I think the only
Amazing.
2 A's I got in college, and then it's the end of the year. I'm graduating. I go to him and I was like, hey, so I'm going to New York and I want to like get an internship. I want to get my foot in the door. Can you refer me
Help me.
someplace? Can you give me a letter? And he just looks at me and he goes, no. And that was it.
Wow.
And I was like,
Well, it's a
oh
far
my
cry
God.
from now, I'll say. Most of the schools I deal with, it's the opposite.
I think so. But like, I don't know why he said no, but I was just like, wow. All right. Well, thanks anyway.
Let's just give him the benefit of the, not benefit of the doubt, but let's just say maybe he burned bridges, and the reason he didn't want to give you a letter is because no one would take a letter from him for your referral. Maybe you dodged a bullet.
Maybe,
You know what I'm saying?
Or I think you're just giving him the benefit
Maybe
of the
I'm being
doubt,
nice.
which is nice. But the ironic part of it is, I guess probably 10 years after that, and I moved out here, and my career kind of like
Took off.
took off a bit. I get a phone call from him out of the clear blue.
Wow.
And he's like, we're all so proud of what you're doing here, and we really and it was a pitch for money
Wow. To support the
to
program.
support the program.
Did you go back and ever speak to the students there or anything like that?
I was never invited back, but
It sounds like that there were some PR faux pas on behalf of the head of this program.
I
Sounds
don't-
like he really kind of blew it.
I don't know what it was. I don't know if I just rubbed the guy the wrong way.
Right.
I don't know. But
So, did you, when you finished that program,
Yeah.
did you get an internship in New York?
I ended up getting an internship at a voiceover studio.
Okay.
Through like a friend of a friend of a friend. I
Right.
got my foot in the door.
Right.
And it was
Kind
it
of
was-
tedious, I'm sure.
It was
Yeah.
very tedious.
Yeah.
And I was put in the dupe room. So there were like 4 high-speed dupers,
Yeah.
quarter-inch dupers,
Yeah.
and they would come back with a radio spot, because we did radio spots and
Right.
industrials and stuff like that. And they'd hand me the reel and be like, okay, we need 300 copies of this.
Oh, my God.
So that's 60 runs, right?
Okay, all right.
And the problem with the high-speed dupers is they were very undependable.
Yeah.
So I would have to spot check every single one.
Oh, wow.
Because if one went out and it was messed up,
Is it all like quarter inch?
it was all quarter-inch. yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And so
And are these like upright reel to reels or
no,
like
there
tape
were
machines like
massive,
we know?
like washing machine
Oh.
size. And so there was the mother,
Right.
which you put the master on, and then there were
The
like
safety
1, 2,
slave
there
machines.
were 4 slave machines,
Ah.
and you'd hit two buttons.
That's
and
an
they would-
audio term, by the way, that we
Yes.
use for a secondary machine.
Subservient.
Following a master machine, also an audio term.
Yes.
For the I'll say the source machine.
Sort or the main machine and the subservient machine.
Yes, we could.
Yes. And yeah, so I would.
Sounds like
do
kind of
that.
a nightmare. Was shit like? Did you ever
Yeah.
have like tape flying off reels and
yeah.
shit? Oh,
Oh,
my
yeah.
god! It sounds like a Lucy episode with Dave.
It was really, and it was super monotonous and really boring, and
God.
it was about going out at lunch and getting stoned
Yeah.
and coming back and
Yeah.
trying to like push through the rest of the day.
It probably looked okay on a resume, though.
You know what? It didn't, as it turned out, it didn't really matter.
Oh,
but
okay.
what was important about me being there was I met somebody who was the studio manager at the time,
Oh.
who had a friend who was a runner at a music studio.
Still in New York?
In New York.
Okay.
Who was giving notice. Who got an offer at another studio called Power Station.
Oh yeah.
So of
Timing
course-
and luck. Timing and luck.
Of course, he was going to Power Station. So I said to Lisa, who was the manager, I was like, Lisa, you tell me the day. I think his name was Bruce. Bruce gives notice, and I'm going to call that studio
Nice.
and get the job.
Nice.
And she's like, okay, I'll call Bruce and tell him to let me know.
Nice.
So literally, I don't know, 3 weeks later, she comes on the intercom. She's like, Bruce gave notice. Go.
Nice.
And
What was
so-
the name of that studio?
That was Skyline Studios.
Oh,
which was
a known studio.
amazing place.
Yes.
Yeah. So I literally picked up the phone, called, and I was like, hey, I was just wondering if you had any openings for runners. And they're like, somebody just gave notice.
Dude, you love this.
And they're like, can you come down and meet with us?
Perfect.
I was like, I can be down there in an hour. And I went
Perfect.
down there and they hired me on the spot. And I gave 2 weeks notice to the voiceover.
And they let you work out that notice?
Yeah.
Oh, that was nice.
And that's where I really kind of
Learned.
waded in and got my
Gotcha.
got my
I
feet
mean,
wet.
You know this, but people ask me, has it changed the trajectory? And it really hasn't changed. I mean, in the sense that now there are more recording schools, some of them fantastic.
Yeah.
But even when you come out of recording schools, you still start as an intern, sometimes an unpaid intern for a brief amount of time. Here in California, it's required that you get academic credit for that internship. And
Yeah.
and for us, I've never been into having, free labor, but that 1 month period or that short period of time indicates to me whether the person's really going to cut it. And then I hire him as a paid runner. And the trajectory is the same. A runner, then you become an assistant engineer. And then if you're lucky and I like you, I start getting you first in gigs.
Right.
And then you, through your own efforts and my efforts of helping you, launch your career.
Exactly.
So I've helped a few people.
I'm more than a few. I know.
You were already an established engineer when I first met you, though. So you were working with the Rick Rubin camp when I first met
Right.
you.
Because I had connected with Rick when this was still Ocean Way.
Yeah. So when you left, what was the incentive or the impetus to leave New York and Skyline to come to LA? Better weather?
Well, that didn't hurt,
Right.
but also my now wife,
Oh, who
because we were dating long distance for like a year.
How did you meet Leslie? Yeah, how'd you meet her?
It's a whole other podcast. We actually knew each other when we were like 7 or 8 years old. She
that's
lived up the
right.
street from me. Her and her family moved out to LA. We didn't talk.
Damn
again.
her parents for taking her away.
And we didn't talk again for like 22 years. Totally met by accident through a friend of mine that I went to college
She didn't
with.
see your name on the back of a record?
Nope. Like sometimes it's amazing that we're even married.
Dude, the universe
because
is amazing.
The just her interest in music and isn't.
She
quite-
gave me a book on gardening and landscaping that I totally use and that I utilize.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
years ago for my birthday, and I used it to basically do a whole plant in my backyard.
Wow.
Yeah, I should let her know that.
I will. That's impressive.
Yeah, I love, that's a good outlet for me is gardening. So this is exciting. So this love conquers all. Love leads you to LA.
Love led me to LA.
Nice.
And I
Skyline would have been a good reference, though, I would imagine.
Skyline was a great reference
Yeah.
because at that point I was like the head second engineer there.
What were some of the things you worked on at Skyline? It's hard to remember
It was
right
well. It was what was great about Skyline was how diverse the clientele was.
Yeah.
I did a lot of jazz records. Worked with a lot of
now.
amazing
Good training, by the
engineers.
way.
Yeah,
The jazz
like
records.
live to 2-track records, which were intense, but had some amazing teachers there, like James Farber and Neil Dorsman.
Oh, great
and
engineers.
Kevin Killen, who actually got me the
Who
job
I
at Ocean Way.
love.
Yeah,
We love him.
because I was telling Kevin that I was thinking about moving out here, and he's like, oh, I'll hook you up with Jack. And that was Jack Waltz, who used to
Yes.
manage Ocean Way.
Ocean Way, yeah.
And so I came
We're
out.
in the east building of what was Ocean Way.
Right.
6050 Sunset, where United Studios was, and 6000, where we are sitting, which was originally Western. They were United Western. Then they became Ocean Way. And then in 98, this building that we're in, the 6000 building, became Cello. And that's when I came.
Right.
That's when I met you, was in 98.
98,
I know, how
wow.
crazy. So very cool. And you got the interview with Jack.
Got the interview with Jack.
Tough cookie, but a nice guy.
It was a very funny interview.
Yeah.
And then Alan comes in, and Alan Sides is a character
And a great
of his
engineer
own,
in his
and
own right.
a phenomenal engineer,
Yeah,
but just
but a character.
Yeah, just a total character.
These people, when we were coming up, I think, don't let this deter you, but when we were coming up, people were pretty scathing, and they were pretty, they were
thankfully,
very,
yeah.
sort of didn't give a shit about you and sort of let you know that you were just a peon at that
Yes.
point in time.
You were always
Re-
reminded of your place.
Of your place, and
Yes.
and regardless of this reference from Skyline, now Neil Dorson, those guys, those are real guys. So you had a real leg up.
I definitely
know.
came in with some good credential
Yeah,
behind me.
yeah.
And
But still, they would have knocked you down.
oh, well, they gave me a hard time for sure.
Yeah.
And my whole push was they also had record one.
Yes.
And at
in the
that
valley.
point, they had just put in the biggest SSL in the world. I
Yep.
think it was like 100 input SSL.
Oh,
It
did
was
you end up doing a
massive.
lot of work at Record
Well,
One?
No, but that was why they had hired me, because I was like, Skyline was all SSL.
Yeah.
So my push then was like, I know SSL. You got this new room, I can take care of that for you.
Makes sense to me.
So, but as soon as I got here, there was another assistant here by the name of Rail Rogan,
Oh, yes, I remember.
who basically took the SSL room, and it was his. He just did everything that came through there.
So then you ended up working on
I
what
ended
was
up
the
in
Dalcom?
this room.
Oh, in this room, which probably had the same nave that it has now.
It does. It was all the same gear. So I ended up in this room a lot. I ended up in record 1B.
Oh, okay.
Which is where the console that's in 1 was, which was called
Yes.
Cyclops.
Yep.
That was built for Quincy Jones.
Yes.
And
It's two 8078s locked together.
yeah. And yeah, they didn't put that in here until like the
The
very
80s.
end.
I think it was like late 80s.
It was much later than
Oh,
that. It was
really?
kind of right before it became cello.
And it was at Record One, right?
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get here. What year was it that you came
I
to
started
Ocean Way?
here in 93.
A great time. Well, an interesting time in music. I was working at Soundcastle at that point, which I went to Soundcastle from then. Take One and Red Zone are located at what was originally Kendon Recorders, now Glenwood Place Recorders, still there, still open.
Oh, yeah.
And so I left. We did rock and blues and stuff like that at that facility, and then I left to go to Soundcastle because Dave Jordan had done all this, like Jane's Addiction,
Right.
and Alice in Chains, and I thought, oh, this is awesome. I'm gonna go work for Buddy King and at Soundcastle, and I'm gonna get to do all these rock records. And then I got there in '93, and it was hardcore gangster rap. Which was great training,
Right.
and was fine. And I have a lot of friends from that time period, and the clients
yeah.
were actually super nice.
Was it a lot of Death Row records?
All
there?
Death Row,
Yeah.
Death Row, Aftermath, Bad Boy. That's
Bad Boy.
P. Diddy's label.
Yeah.
But ended up great engineers I worked with, Michael Schlesinger, John Marie Horvat, a lot of cool people. And then there was a Neve room in the back there, did, rock records and stuff like that. But John Porter, who was the British
Oh, yeah.
producer.
The Smiths.
Yeah, who did the Smiths and School of Fish, all these bands. I had met him at Red Zone, and he is a blues aficionado. He's an incredible bass player in his own right, and he was in Roxy Music, but he produced all these blues records. And when I met John at Red Zone, are still lifelong friends. And then I went to Soundcastle, and I was at Soundcastle, and he called me up and said, hey, I met this guy, and he's going to buy a studio. And originally they were going to buy Sound City. And then they decided to buy 6000 Sunset. So when that happened, he said, do you want to come and manage it? There's going to be a label and everything. And I was like, yes, because I was highly aware. I think we all were, even when you came out from Skyline, everybody was aware of Ocean Way and what Ocean Way was.
Ocean Way was magic.
Oh, and this location still is. I'm so privileged.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, when I started working here, I was blown away by
the talent.
By the talent and the people that I was working with every day. I was, just sitting in the same room as, legends.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Yeah.
Sitting in the room with Ray Charles.
Oh, yeah.
And just that whole level, it was a massive level up.
Frank Sinatra was probably not actively recording when you had come here.
No.
But he even came back in the 90s at one point, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're talking about the cream of the crop. I mean, rock stars.
Yeah, it really was
and jazz and everything else.
Everything else. It was an honor to work here when it was Ocean Way.
Agreed.
Because, I think you just were looked at as a different kind of engineer. I think.
Yeah, you were up here. You were with the stars. When I came. And first started running cello, it was interesting because I don't know if you were already, I think, had launched your freelance career.
I did, yeah.
But there was a little bit of, there was kind of some skepticism from the current or the crew at the time at Ocean Way. And, here we were in this new building and it was called Cello, and I poached some great people from Ocean Way. Yeah. But there was some skepticism, and I think that Alan thought, and we're totally friends now, me and Alan, and we're great. But I think Alan thought at the time, oh, it's never going to work. Guy, the guy that I work for, not John, but the owner, he thought, oh, this isn't going to work. And then what he didn't know was that because I had 3 older brothers who'd worked at the record plant in the late 60s and early 70s,
right?
That
Record Plant LA?
Record Plant LA. Okay. I already knew Mike Klink since I was in high school.
And Jim Scott.
I already knew Jim Scott. Yeah. I already knew Ron Nevison.
And Bianco, right?
David Bianco. I already knew Don Was.
Right.
I'd already worked with Don Was.
Yeah.
And I had John Porter, who ran the label here and who was a big supporter. So it was just a matter of, hey, it's just a different name.
Right.
I just called everyone and said, hey, it's me. Yeah. Same rooms.
Right.
And Don Was and Pat Leonard and all those people were incredibly supportive.
Sorry, I'm just muting my phone here.
It's all right. And they were incredibly supportive. So, and I met you. I remember meeting you early on. Yeah. And Rick was already here and Jim was already working here, Pat Leonard, all those people. And so it was just a matter of proving to them that they'd have good service and they'd have good assistance, and that everything would be okay. And we pretty much hit the ground running, to be honest.
No, you guys did, and I think the first thing I did at cello was Toxicity.
Yep, set some of it down.
Right, and we did back to back. We did Toxicity and went right into Audio Slave. And I remember the tape library. There was probably like 300 reels of 2-inch.
Dude, at least.
It was
at least
insane.
When you were working with Rick in this room, a lot of Rick Rubin projects with Jim Scott and some other engineers as well, yourself, eventually Greg Fiddleman, people coming up through that crew, and then later Ryan Hewitt, Chris Testa, whomever. But there was one point in time when I had over 400 reels of just the Chili Peppers alone.
Oh, yeah.
So the room that we're sitting in is kind of the rock room here at 6000. And the record that Dave is talking about, Rage Against the Machine had done Renegades of Funk here when it was still Ocean Way.
Right, I worked on that as well.
Yes, I figured you would have. I just saw Tom Morello last week.
Oh, nice.
And we were talking about this. And then, Zach De La Roca had took a little hiatus, and Chris Cornell came in as the singer, and they started Audio Slave, and they did all 3 Audio Slave records pretty much in the room that we're sitting in.
Yeah, I think it was here, and they did some of it in A&M.
Some of it at A&M, yeah.
Or Henson, whatever it was at that point.
Yeah,
So
Henson.
it'll always be A&M to me.
But very, very lucky. I mean, working with, talk about your experiences and the producers you worked with. Talk about Rick Rubin and those experiences.
I mean, that
Entree.
yeah, I mean, that was invaluable. And again, it was luck, timing, and being ready to seize the moment.
You know what? You just say yes, and
Yeah.
you just show up.
Well,
that is the
that
best
was-
advice.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that very clearly how that all happened. It was during One Hot Minute,
Oh, yeah.
Chili Peppers, and that was a rough record.
Yeah.
They were really challenged during that record because it was the follow up to Blood, Sex, Sugar.
Yeah.
There was a lot of pressure.
I think Eddie Delana did some stuff on Blood, Sex, Sugar, Magic. I like Mothers.
He
Mother's
may have-
Milk was a
that
track?
was Brendan did that with Rick. Blood,
Oh,
Sex,
okay.
Sugar, but Eddie may have been involved in
Yeah, he
it
was,
at some
yeah.
point. But I was in Studio 3 with, oh my God, now I'm
There was a
spacing.
Neve in the room at the time.
Yes, there was an 8078 in there.
Yeah.
And I was in there with oh my God, why am I spacing on?
It's okay. Describe it,
Oh,
and
it's
maybe I'll
bad.
help you remember.
English guy from Nashville, amazing engineer, brilliant guy. And I feel so bad that I can't remember
No, it's
his
okay.
name.
We'll remember. It'll come back. We'll come back to that.
Yeah, so I was working with him. I was assisting him, and he had been out here, I don't know, for 2 months or something, and he was ready to go home. He was, he missed his wife, he missed his kids.
Oh, you wanted to go to Nashville?
Yeah, he was ready to go back to Nashville, and he turns to me. He's like, "Do you want to take over?" And I was like, "Yes, sure."
And what was that?
We
the
were at
Peppers?
vocals.
Was that the
for-
Peppers?
For Chili Peppers, yeah. Vocals with Anthony.
Nice.
And I was like, sure, okay, I'm down. And he's like, okay. He's like, I'll talk to Mala, that was Rick's assistant at the time,
Yeah.
and I'll put your name in. I was like, awesome, thank you. Richard Dodd.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you.
God.
He became a famous mastering engineer as well.
Yeah, Richard, sweetest guy in the
glad
world.
you remember that.
And we'll always be so thankful
Classy
to him.
guy. Nice guy.
Classy, 100%, just very, very good guy.
Yeah.
And so he put my name in with Mala, and he left, and the next day they hired somebody else.
Oh, painful.
They brought in an engineer from Vancouver who shall remain nameless.
Okay.
For,
I can
for
kind of imagine who
reasons.
that would be,
Yeah.
actually.
Out of a certain camp in Vancouver.
Yes.
And we'll just leave it there.
Okay.
So he came in and he wanted to do things his way. I was like, you got it, sure. And at that point, we had those big old Ampex ATR
Yeah, the
multi-tracks
124s, yeah.
with the plasma screen remotes. They were really, really tricky machines.
And they had a delay you had to learn.
Right. They had this, it was like you had to punch in on the and to get
Yep.
the downbeat.
Yep.
And it was a feel that you developed like these, and that's why the assistants, that's why it was such a great gig here at Ocean Way, because the assistants were part of the session.
Yeah.
You were running the tape machine.
Yeah.
It's like you were sitting there doing punches, with Eric Clapton or
Yeah.
whoever. And it was like, it was you and him. And the energy was just always
Yeah.
amazing,
Yeah.
to be part of the session.
Yeah.
So, so as my job was, we're about to start. Anthony's out there ready to sing. And I grabbed the remote, I put it in front of me. And Gina looks at me and goes, what are you doing? I was like, well, I'm going to run tape. He's like, no, you're not. He's like, I'll run tape. I was like, I turned it around and I put it in front
So
of him.
he's going to sit at the console
And
run the
and
tape
run
machine
tape.
at the same
And
time.
I
Which,
was
by
like-
the way, not an easy thing to do, okay?
and I was like, let me just show you a couple of shortcuts on the remote. So, because you can easily
Mess
have
up.
2 tracks and record, 1 track and repro, the rest in sync.
Yeah, you can blow this, brother.
Yeah. I was like, let me just give you the quick, and he looks at me, he goes, I think I can figure it out.
Oh, wow.
And I was like,
Okay.
okay.
Don't look a gift horse in the mouth, is what I'm saying.
I was just trying to do my job.
Yeah, you be a nice guy.
Just trying to do my job.
Yep.
And I was like, all right. So I went to the couch in the back room, just sat down and watched the guy bury himself.
Yeah.
You know, he just got into all sorts of issues with the machine.
And that could really ruin the momentum and the vibe for the singer.
And that's exactly what it did. It totally shot the vibe of the session. You know, you could see it on Rick's face. You could see Anthony getting really frustrated.
Oh.
And, you know, and occasionally this engineer would look back at me and just like, you know,
Scowl.
snarl at me like, you know, why is it doing that? And I was like,
I tried to tell you.
you know, and, you know, Rick was fully aware of what was going on.
He'd done enough sessions here and enough.
And the end of the day, you know, the engineer gave me this very firm talking to about how, you know, things better work better the next day. And I was like, okay, you know,
Let me
I'll
run the
take care of
tape machine.
I was like, I'll take care of it. Don't worry. And Rick leaves and he looks at me, he goes, see you tomorrow. You know, very
Subtly.
few words, very few words.
Yes, as is his way.
Right. And the next day, that engineer was gone. And so was Anthony, you know. So I'm sitting there in this room with nothing to do. But they still had the time booked, so I still had to show up.
Oh, yeah.
So, and Richard, when we were having our down days where Anthony wasn't available or, you know, didn't feel like singing, they would throw things at him to mix. You know, they'd be like, remix this Tom Petty song, redo
Right.
this.
Yeah.
And so there was a Jayhawks track that he was supposed to mix. And so the tapes were sitting there. So I was like, all right, fuck it. So I just threw up the multis, and I mixed the Jayhawks track and, you know, got it to where it felt like it sounded good. And Rick at the time, you know, he was multi-room Rick.
Still,
you know,
he still is.
Still is.
Yeah.
And I think he was down here doing Danzig.
Yeah.
And he was doing Macy Gray around the corner. So he had all the rooms in the studio booked at that point. So I see him walking by and I flag him down. I was like, hey, Rick. I was like, I did this Jayhawks mix because I know you guys needed it. You know, if you want to use it, you can.
Yeah, check it out.
Check it out. And he's like, all right. He's like, make a cassette.
Oh, yes.
Burn a cassette and come down to Studio 2 and we'll listen to it.
Nice.
And I was like, all right. No pressure. So I burn the cassette. I go down there, put it in, play it for him. He sits there, and, you know, he's like bobbing his head. He's like, song's over. He's like, cool. He's like, all right, thanks. That's all he says. And
Yeah.
I go back to the room and I was like, what just happened?
I know.
I was like, I don't know what happened.
You just mixed a Jayhawks track.
I just shot my shot. You know, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And, you know, went home that night. And the next morning, I get a call from Mala. And she's like, can you go to the Sound Factory with Anthony and do vocals tomorrow night?
Nice.
And I was like, yes. And from that point,
at
10
that
years
point,
on.
Yeah, and that point, you're not an assistant
Right.
per se. You probably still worked for Ocean Way for a minute.
I did. I was still on staff
bridging
here.
that gap.
And, you know, it was always very strange going into other studios because, you know, you got the look down the nose from the assistant, like, you're engineering? You know,
like, how did you get this gig?
How did you get this gig?
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
something's rotten. You know, something's not cool here.
Oh, I don't know.
And,
I thought that.
You know, and that record kept going for, I don't know, like another 4 or 5 months.
Dude, that was the beauty of that time frame. I mean, you would remember many, many things that we did in here and during the cello years. You know, it would be 18 months of Tom Petty starting and stopping.
Right.
You know, and you had, was Draculius around then?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so George was hanging with Rick at that point?
I did a bunch of stuff with George.
I love him, dude. He's doing so great. There was an article in the New York Times recently about him.
I saw that.
I texted him. He was so great.
I just remember how much we used to laugh because, I mean,
yeah.
he was such a cut up.
He's a great guy, and great at easing tension.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, he's been great. He's brought me a lot of stuff, even recently, when he's doing production for a TV or film, because he's become a music supervisor now.
Yeah.
Predominantly, we still occasionally produce a record, but more often TV and film. But he's been really cool. He came and brought me a lot of stuff for with Lady Gaga for like Harlequin and stuff like that. Yeah, super cool.
Yeah, it's great.
He's the sweetest.
He's responsible for the intercom being disconnected at
Yes.
Ocean Way.
Yes. Well, we had the intercom at cello. I actually miss that intercom. I wish we still had it
Oh my
because
God.
George would abuse the intercom and he would like, he'd be like, "Where's my farfisa? I need some Cozy Shack." You know what I mean? He liked Cozy Shack rice pudding at the time. And he'd be like,
Dave, report to the principal's office
Yes,
immediately.
yes. There's
And
no-
it went outside though,
Yeah,
so
there's
it's
no-
like it
there's
would
no chocolate
blast
in
across
studio two.
Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah.
You hear George like asking for more, more food or whatever. I mean, it was so
George,
funny.
you're famous and infamous at the same time.
Yes.
So after that, the vocal session with Anthony, you were pretty much in the Rick camp.
Yeah. At that point, I was kind of in and, started to do other stuff. And, we did like a Donovan record.
Very cool.
And
Pro Tools was sort of easing in
yeah,
at that time. In the late 90s, early aughts, I actually, Gary Meyerberg, who was the chief engineer here, he and I purchased the first Pro Tools rig at Cello. I actually took a second out of my house.
Yeah.
We bought the first Pro Tools rig, and it still didn't sound as good as it sounds now, but it was definitely becoming kind of a norm. And you had a separate
Absolutely.
Pro Tools operator,
Right.
which is, and then correct me if I'm wrong, that's how I remember Fiddleman.
Fiddleman came in as a guy who was running Pro Tools, like him and Andrew Sheps.
Right.
Both came in as Pro Tools editors.
Yeah.
Andrew and I had been friends for a while. We met on a Quincy Jones record.
Amazing.
Where he was Pro Tools operator and I was the assistant, I think. Was it Back on the Block? I think, it was Q's Juke Joint. And
Because
it was out at Record One.
And did you find at that time that you were running tape and Pro Tools simultaneously, or was it just Pro Tools?
At that point, it was, we were using Pro Tools as like a way to fix stuff
Right,
and then
as an
bounce it
editor.
back to tape.
As an editor. We still do that.
And one of the, One Hot Minute was the first record that I did where we used Pro Tools to comp.
As an editing tool.
Yeah, edit the vocals.
Interesting.
And it's so funny because it took so long to do it back then in Pro Tools. It wasn't quite as easy as it is now.
I don't know if I ever told you this, but I was, my brother was training me to be an assistant before I was a manager. So when I very first started in like 84 or whatever, I was working for my brother Steve, my middle brother, at Take One, which is the 619 side of Glenwood Place, the right-hand side. Mm-hmm. And I was a Trident 80B, and I was a tape op, like you were a tape op.
Yeah.
So, and it was an MTR 90. But I learned how to edit 2-inch and learned how to commit to cutting 2-inch and comping vocals, but editing on 2-inch, because this is pre-Pro Tools, that was how you edited.
Yeah.
You edited on the multi-track, and you
Yeah.
had to make the decision, and you had to commit,
Yeah.
Based on what you were being told, by the engineer. But you had to be I remember being pretty nervous initially, and then getting pretty comfortable with it.
Yeah, it was a comfort thing. And the funny thing about editing 2-inch is it's more forgiving than you might think it is. Like when you cut on that 30 degree angle,
yeah.
It's pretty smooth, and you can get away with a lot more than you think you can.
Yeah, yeah.
And like I remember, it was always amazing to me, like cutting.
It's seamless. If you do it correctly, it is seamless.
Absolutely, like cutting Chad Smith on tape, because Chad did not play to click.
Right.
But he didn't need to. Like
great
guys
job.
like us, like a clock.
Yeah, he's amazing.
But like cutting between takes with Chad, it was seamless.
Yeah.
It was always.
I tell my staff, they'll be talking about this, that, and the other, and I'm like, look, in some ways, and I guess I sound old by saying this, but in some ways, I think having less options is better.
100%, 100%. Like, because I've been on
just
records.
Commit, man.
I've been on records where bands get overwhelmed by options
And the editing and plugins. Yeah. I think, Jeff Ellis, who has a room here, who's an alum of East West, he has a thing he calls the death spiral, where you start putting so many plugins on it that you sort of suck the life out of the music. I have not found an engineer who disagrees with that. Every single person agrees with that.
Less is more. It's always less is more. But a great example of that is I did a record with Jimmy Eat World, Futures.
Love them.
With Gil Norton.
Love
producing.
him.
And we cut the basics here in one.
Yeah.
And then we went to Tucson to do all the overdubs in this dude's house who owned or owns a company called Rainbow Guitars.
Okay, that's
which is
familiar.
a massive guitar and music sales
interesting.
online. And I think he had stores as well. Really nice guy. Harvey was his name. And he had everything, like every guitar, every amp, anything you wanted. So the first day we go in there.
But Pro Tools also.
It was on Pro Tools,
Okay.
yeah. But he had a great studio in his house. He had a Neve like the 1 and 2, lots of great gear, great mics. It was really
Nice.
very, very, very nice.
State of the art, very
place.
nice.
But here's the problem. The problem was the band was like, oh, do you have a Marshall? Oh, do you have a Hi-Watt? Oh, do you have an AC? He brought in like a ton of gear.
So getting the guitar sound gets complicated because now you're swapping out 40 amps.
Well, right. So we're standing in the room just like looking at everything going, where do we start?
We need to commit.
Yeah. So it was a week of like spinning our wheels, because it was really hard to settle on something. And then finally it was just like, all right, let's take all of this out of here.
Yeah.
Like pick a head.
Yeah.
Pick 2 heads. Pick a combo. Pick 2 combos.
Yeah.
And
But not
2
10.
cabinets and the rest of it gone.
Nice.
You want something specific, we'll bring it in.
Yeah.
But it's not going to sit here because it was the death spiral.
We're going for a tone.
Yeah. We're going to go for a tone and that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And as soon as we did that, like
It brought the momentum back up.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, I think, and an artist, I've mentioned this before, but there's a lot of trust that happens, and it's deep between the artist, the engineer, the artist, and the producer. And I always call the song the baby. Like the artist goes, here's my baby, and gives it to you. So the trust, it's so important that they know that you have their back, that they know that you are going to do everything in your power to enhance it,
Right.
but not to kill the baby. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's important not.
It's a vulnerability on both sides.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to think you're being undermined.
Exactly.
I think it's important when you're working with a band, or if I'm working with a producer, that it's understood that it's a team effort.
Yeah, and we just want to make it better.
Right. Everybody's in it for the same reason.
Yes.
It's like, I'm not here to make your record worse.
Yeah.
I'm here to make it better. I'm here to help you achieve what you want to achieve.
Yeah.
And, sometimes a
It
band or an
clashes.
artist needs a reminder of that, because there starts to be like some like suspicion and,
Or
like
power struggle.
Right. Or why are you doing this? And it's like, hey, I'm here to make your record.
Yeah, let me do my thing.
Right. I'm not here. I have, my ego. I check my ego at the door.
Yeah.
It's like, I just want the record to sound great.
Well, and I think a good way to describe it too is like, you're a guitar player. You play guitar. I play console, tape machine, and outboard gear.
Right.
Now, those are my instruments. As an
Right.
engineer, your instruments are the signal processors, the console, and whatever format you're
Right.
going down to.
And, like, as you're making a record, I like to say you develop a language
Yep.
between you and the artist where, when they give a descriptor, you know what that means, because
They want something blue.
right. Or, can that be
Crunchy.
Yeah. Can that cut more? Can that be something, or, and it's like, you have to learn like what that means in their head.
In their head.
Because like people will have very different ideas of what warm is,
Right.
or what, spacious,
Right.
or what cut is.
That's
or
so interesting that you
aggressive.
bring this up.
Like,
That's so true.
the term aggressive means something different to everybody.
Right.
And it's like, and sometimes like I have to push people a little bit, like, well, when you say aggressive,
What do you mean, or what are you looking for?
Tell me more about what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And this comes up a lot more in mix.
Yeah.
If I get some feedback, we were thinking we'd want it more aggressive, and it's like, okay.
Do you want the guitar louder?
Like,
Do you want the vocals
yeah,
louder?
What is it that isn't aggressive here that you
Drums?
want, more prominent or more in your face?
Right.
And sometimes it takes a minute for a band or an artist to kind of
That
be
language.
able to translate that.
Yeah.
But what I try and, assure people is like, look, we'll get there. The first song's the toughest song because we're,
Well, you're getting to know each other and getting to learn how to communicate.
right. Everybody's sniffing each other's butt at
Yeah,
this point.
totally.
And it's like, how far does he actually want to go? When he says, I want it bathed in reverb, what does bathed in reverb mean? Because you can make it really, you can make him down a well, or it can be something like, tasteful.
A wet towel on the forehead.
Right. So you have to learn, what are people's like not limits, but what their expectations are when they give a certain descriptor.
Yeah,
and it always gets there, but it's like it's that first song that's always a little bit of a hump to get over.
I am a huge champion of engineers, and I've said this many times always that, we stand on the shoulders of those before us, the Tom Dowds, the Jeff Emmerichs, all these guys that you learn from.
Yeah.
And one of the things, two things, which is that the people you learn from, Dorfs and all these people that you learn from along the way, you sort of, you put together your style from the people that you worked with and picking the things that you like
100%.
that work for you, and then that becomes Dave's style.
Right.
And when you hire Dave, we're assuming you've listened to records that he did and you go, oh, I really love what he did there.
Right.
And I want that on my record. I
Right.
want the Dave touch on my record, And I think we've all been so lucky, and people think that it's strictly technical. It's highly technical. Make no mistake, it's highly technical. But this aspect, this nuance of the etiquette and the psychology of how to get along with an artist, I said they're handing you their baby, of how to make them feel comfortable and to develop that trust. That is a deep, deep thing. I'm still running a studio. I still have people coming up that are brand new. Mm-hmm. And I tell them, I'm like, look, most people will be forthcoming with knowledge. Most people will be encouraging if you are enthusiastic. If you are enthusiastic and if you have a good vibe, people want to help you. And I have never, even the grumpiest of engineers wants to be asked, like, how did you do that?
Right.
Because they're proud of what they've done. They're proud of the journey. So I tell people, like, yes, you do need to understand signal flow without question, and you do need to get the technical down, but it's really about being a good vibe. You're in a room with people for 12, 14 hours.
Exactly.
And if you you don't insert yourself, overly insert yourself, and if you want people to, like, help you out, be cool.
100%. I mean, that is a big part of the job. It's like, can I hang with this guy for 14 hours
for 6 weeks
without wanting to break his neck?
Right.
And that goes both ways,
Yeah.
and as an assistant, it's learning how to be tolerant of somebody that maybe you don't 100% agree with
or
what
they're in a
doing.
bad mood, or they've got something else going
somebody
on.
like has a bad day or something.
Yeah.
It's just learning how to be out of the way, but
Present.
ready to help.
Yes.
At the drop of a.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to sort of save people from themselves, because you know the room when you're the assistant.
Right.
You know the room better, or you better know the room better than anybody.
Yeah.
And if they're going to try to do something on the console that console doesn't do,
Right.
or
You're about to feed back into the speakers.
or he's going to patch into a point, or something's out of phase.
Right.
Speakers or NS10s are out of phase, or something like that.
Right. And part of it is also, like, I remember as an assistant,
Subtlety.
if I saw the engineer was possibly doing something that might get him into trouble, I wouldn't shout it across the room.
Of course not.
You go up and you go in his
You
ear
whisper.
and go, hey, just so you know,
In this room.
blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, in this room, this is how you have
and
to do
9 times
that.
out of 10, they'll turn around and go, oh my God, thank you.
Yes. Who wouldn't?
Right.
Right. So I'm probably going to blow your mind. I'm still booking time.
Yeah.
And often have to explain to people why they need an engineer, a first engineer. And my analogy is always, well, you wouldn't get on a plane without a pilot.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He is the person who is guiding the ship. The assistant engineer is the co-pilot, and he is the person who knows the plane and is going to help the pilot get through. You know,
And I think part of it also is, when you've been doing this a while, there are very few things you haven't seen before. And it's being able to anticipate something or know, okay, I see where this is going. And I know how to make this work. Or I see where this is going and this is not going to work.
And I'm going to save you.
And I'm going to save you and help you find a better way to do it.
And make you think like it was your idea.
Well, of course.
This is why Dave and I are successfully married to this day.
Exactly. I mean,
these skills.
You definitely want to empower your artist.
Of course.
Make them feel like they are part of it, because nobody wants to feel like they're being led around by their nose.
Yeah, that's not cool.
It's like they want to be part of the team, and they should be part of the team, because at the end of the day, their name's a lot bigger on the record than mine. And I pride myself in the fact that I don't think I have a sound. I don't think all my records have a signature, my signature. It's like, I want to bring out what's best
for that
in
artist.
Each artist.
That's admirable.
Because I think, there are producers and mixers out there who have a sound.
Yeah.
And I don't, and I think that works for some people.
Yeah.
But I think when you pour yourself over tones and, setting the stage for a song, and then somebody comes in to mix it and they just, eviscerate
when it can't really be formulaic. I mean, in the sense that you can't use the same thing for every song you do and every artist that you do. Some people do.
But there are people who do that.
There are people who do that, and it works for them.
And it works for them. It works very well for them. But I think, part of why I love doing this is because it isn't formulaic.
Okay, so I think that mixing is awesome, but I think tracking is much more fun.
Tracking is great energy.
And especially if you're lucky enough to be able to mix what you tracked,
mm-hmm.
while you're tracking, you are mixing as you're tracking.
Absolutely.
And thinking in terms of the sound that you want to go for. Something that I want to say that's important is that Dave is for hire. Everybody that I talk to on this show, and people, if you're out there and you're in a smaller market or you're in not a big city and you're wondering like, how I'm an artist, how do I go about this? Well, first of all, get really good, write songs and rehearse your ass off. Then save up your money. And if you want to hire someone like this, they'll fly to where you are. You find the best studio nearby. Whatever you can do to slowly build the momentum of your career. But everybody's for hire, and it is a collaborative effort. That's what we're talking about here. Every artist makes a first record.
Yep.
There is always a freshman effort.
You have your whole life to make your first record and 3 months after to make your second.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, like, part of what I really enjoy
the sophomore curse, but that's another story.
Part of what I enjoy a lot about doing this is working with that new band.
Yeah.
And
it's exciting.
And helping a band kind of realize their potential and realize their sound, their what I call sonic footprint.
Yes.
And that's really important for a band to be able to have a sound where, 5 seconds in you can go, that's Tom Petty.
And loyalty can be created that way. You and I have both seen it. We're like, Dave's our guy. You know what I mean? And you have had such an incredible career. I mean, list some of the other artists that you worked with, or maybe some things that you're doing now, or what you're looking for. He might have secrets. He might not be able to tell us the name of the band. But
yeah, I mean, there's stuff in the works. Do
you have a studio in your house now?
I have a mix room in my house, and I also do Atmos.
Okay, good to know.
That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, that is a whole other podcast.
But I mean, who I've worked with, like I've been really.
I know because I've been around you. But
I mean, I've been really fortunate that I've been in the room with some amazing bands and amazing artists. I mean,
so you work with Chili Peppers. We know
Chili
this.
Peppers, System of a Down, Tom Petty, Johnny Cash.
Yes.
Vampire Weekend, Olivia Rodrigo.
Amazing. Do you have any Grammys?
I do.
Good.
I have 2.
Good for you.
I've one for Adele
Oh, amazing.
for, was that 25, I think?
Okay, cool.
That was, and I actually went to the Grammys that year. That was, what a shit show that is. Oh my God.
It's
It's intense.
I look back on this and I can't even believe it. I went 26 or 27 years in a row, just as a
Wow.
audience member. I
Yeah,
am a
yeah.
member of the Recording Academy, which we call NARAS, and the Grammys. And, huh?
I'm not.
Yeah, it's okay. You don't have to be. I obviously I'm not a producer and don't have, other than a special thanks, my name is not part of the production on any record. But I just quit going because it is the most grueling day.
It's grueling. It is. It's grueling, and the lead
It's
up
a concert like no other, though.
to it. I mean,
Where are you going to see
Yeah.
country, pop, hip hop,
Yeah.
R&B, all? I mean, where are you going to see U2, Madonna, and Outkast and Beyonce
Yeah.
in the same night?
I mean, the production is incredible.
It's incredible.
Like that, they pull all of that
Oh,
off,
it's amazing.
and it's seamless.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But just
I liked it when it was at the Shrine. Once
The
it started,
Shrine, wow.
once it started going to
Back in the
Staples,
day.
it was a little different, and it,
Yeah.
you know, you couldn't. Like, I'm drinking this bottle of water, but because you're on camera, you know, and it's like I said, it's a long day. You know, if the telecast is only 3 hours, you got to remember the people that are there performing and the people in the audience are there early in the morning. So it's like an 8-hour day that gets cut down to this broadcast, but you can't even have. The Shrine was cool because you could have a drink.
Right.
Okay. If I'm at a concert, I want to sit and have a drink in my hand.
Yeah,
Especially if I'm going to be there for hours and you're in an evening gown or you're in a nice suit or a tux and you're looking sharp, you know, and you're on camera. You know, the running joke was, and I don't know if I've ever told you this, it would be at the end of the night, though, because you couldn't have a drink once you started going to Staples, you couldn't even have water on camera. So you'd see women in the bathroom in evening gowns, like drinking out of the faucet,
Yeah.
because the concession would shut down.
right.
And you couldn't come in. You couldn't come into the auditorium with anything to
The
drink.
advice I was given was bring snacks. It's a long
Yes,
day.
it is a long day,
Yeah.
and then you have to be cognizant. Like, okay, we're back on camera. Like,
Right.
okay, I cannot be like chewing in
Right.
case the camera
Hands
pans
away from
by
your
me.
face,
Yeah,
you know?
in case the camera pans by me. But God bless the Recording Academy for acknowledging people and for giving the accolades to the people behind the scenes, like Dave, like the engineers. Like I said, they're creative heroes. They're the unsung, unfortunately not as sung as they should be, the unsung heroes of all the music, because ultimately it's down to the artist. Without the artist, none of us would have a job. But without an engineer to capture it, nobody would hear it.
True.
You know, you'd hear live shows,
Yeah.
but you wouldn't hear anything after that. You know, after that moment.
I think most of the people who do what I do really relish being behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
last thing I want
Fuck
is
fame.
Yeah.
Dude,
I don't-
wealth would be nice.
Yeah,
but,
sure.
But acknowledgement for your craft would also be a great place to start.
but like more power to the artists who go out there and work the crowd
Oh, my
and
God.
are able to, turn on that smile and be nice to people 24/7. I can't do that.
Yeah.
Like, if I want to just be grumpy Dave, I can be grumpy Dave, behind the scenes, because I don't have to impress somebody.
Well,
you know?
you've always been great to work with for me as a manager, and one of the things about being a recording studio manager is, especially with analog gear like this, stuff's going to happen, and how you handle
Oh, yeah.
and the people that you work with, and Dave's in the position of he's the interface with the artist. So if there is a technical problem, he can say to them, let's give the tech a few minutes, let's check this out. But the relationship between the studio manager and the engineer is real sacred, because, again, there's the trust where, I've got your back.
Yeah.
And then if something is out of our control, you'll be gracious enough to let me try to fix it.
Sure,
You
of
know what I
course.
mean? Like, I can't help it.
Shit happens.
Shit happens.
Yeah.
And I think that would be and we were saying this earlier, like you've run into people that were grumpy or not helpful or kind of dismissive of you or in your career. I've been really lucky. But the people, and I can count them on one hand, thank God, that have been uncool or unreasonable in a situation where it was beyond my control.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, and this building, we got the electrical redone. Thank you, Doug Rogers, the owner of East West, hospital grade electrical. But when Dave started here, when it was Ocean Way, this is an old building, and some of the electrical was not.
Yeah.
You could shock yourself on a tape machine. I was gonna say that.
Yes.
Right. So there was difficulty.
I mean, I remember working in this room. I don't remember the record, but it was one of the years where we had a lot of rain.
Yes.
Lots of rain.
Yeah.
And I walked into that ISO booth.
Yes.
And
water was coming through the light fixture.
There was puddle.
Yeah.
And there were 6 power supplies sitting there.
Well, the roof, I get the roof constantly repaired.
Yeah.
It's really essentially 4 roofs because of the way the building is.
Yeah.
But it's an older building. And you know
Right.
what? We still have the occasional thing. Thank God nothing really near electronics.
Yeah.
But yeah, remember, so we're sitting in Studio 2, and I don't know if Dave will remember this. There's an owl above us on the loft, and there's a hawk on the left, and I don't know. Dave will have his version, but I'm going to tell him my version. So when I came here and it was cello, the area that is now that beautiful deck and all that stuff, the inside part was leading to the roof.
Right.
And that was all storage. And we had a pigeon problem.
Oh.
We had pigeons that were getting in, and Jim Scott had a lot of his gear up there.
Yeah.
But there were all these pigeons. So I called in this guy, and I had these cages, and I was trying to trap all these pigeons. And because the pigeons would get in, they'd get into the building.
Right.
They were on the roof, they'd get in the building. So I bought this plastic owl and that hawk that's up there with this plastic owl to scare away the pigeons.
Right.
So there you go. This is why that there is an owl in Studio 2.
I had no idea why they were there. That's great.
They've always been there, though.
Yeah.
They've been there since I've been here.
The foosball isn't still in here, is it?
Foosball table is no longer there. We're
The
looking at the
AC/DC
loft.
foosball table.
The AC/DC foosball table finally went the way of all good things. But so many cool things that we've done, and so many cool things I'm sure left for you to do.
Yeah.
And again, if you watch this, you can reach out to me, and I can connect you to Dave if you want to hire Dave to do your record. Remember,
You can even reach out to me.
yes, you could totally reach out to Dave as well. But thanks for coming in, and we probably have to do a part 2 and talk about all the other things we want to talk about. But I just want people to realize that, you know, without sounding corny, if you have a dream or a desire to do something, you know, follow it. You know,
Yep.
follow that dream.
Like nobody's gonna
Make your own luck.
Yeah, nobody's coming to you.
Yes.
It's a good thing to remember. Like
They're not going to come to your bedroom and go when you're 16.
Right, and say, please make this record. You got to put yourself out there.
Yeah, put yourself out there. And I'd like to thank Dave so much for being on the show today.
My pleasure.
It was fun.
Always good to see you.
Thank you. Oh, great to see you.